You've heard of cars that run on ethanol, that run on liquefied natural gas, that run on hydrogen. But how about a car that runs on nothing but thin air? Well, this is it. It's made by Israeli tech startup Finergy, and its CEO and founder is Aviv Tzidon. Nice car, Aviv. But for those of us that aren't chemical engineers, just show me how it works.
Okay, please.
This is the battery here in the boot.
Yeah, what we have here is a 1,000 miles as extending on top of the energy you daily charge from the grid.
So you've got a normal lithium-ion battery or whatever in there, and you've also got this aluminium battery, and the aluminium, by reacting with the air and the water, effectively recharges the lithium battery.
That's correct. Actually, what you see here is one anode from aluminum, and this is actually when it starts, and towards the end, the year, when you consume more of the aluminum, it becomes so thin. So you see, wow, the delta in weight is electricity.
Okay.
One is equivalent to 20 miles. We have 50 of this here, and this is how we do 1,000 miles in a weight of 25 kilograms.
Okay, well, I think the only thing to do now is to take it for a spin.
Let's
I know there's no keys, so
go ahead.
Let's see if I do it without crashing your car. Now, you've been testing this car for a while now. I mean, how long has it taken to, you know, from your dreams to reality?
We have signed a contract with a global OEM car manufacturer to have this ready in the market in 2017.
So we've got 23 miles left on the lithium battery, and we've got, what, just over 450 miles left on the metal air battery. And to tap into the metal air battery, we just need to fill up the car.
With water.
Just water?
Plain water.
Okay, look, this I've got to see. Let's fill this car up. Okay, we've got our water. Let's fill her up. And as we're filling the car up, we can actually see the range of the car going up. Wow.
It's already 163 miles and counting.
So it just keeps going up and up.
Yeah. The lithium remains the same. So you see the tiny green? The tiny green is what the lithium is, and right, the yellow is what the yellow brings us. And this is energy from aluminum.
And this is just plain drinking water?
Yes.
Okay, well, I guess the only thing to do, if it's good enough for the car, it's good enough for us. L'chaim, good luck. Okay, well, that report that I did a few months ago, just in a couple of days on the Bloomberg.com website, got more than 250,000 views, which just shows how much interest there is in this kind of innovation. But don't just take my word for it, because we're very happy to have with us the star. No, not the car, but Aviv Tzidon himself, the CEO and founder of Finergy. Aviv Tzidon. We'll get to questions afterwards.
Okay, so thank you for this opportunity. I click on this. Who is Phinergy? Actually, I have the last to start new startup in Israel, and I have some money to spend, and I learned about technology that was developed from 2000 to 2008 in the University of Bar-Ilan under the leadership of Professor Tzidon and Eric Hakim. Eric Hakim is the inventor in here. And in 2008, actually, we started Finergy. And Finergy is around as a technology of patents that allow metal air to work in a lab technology. And we start inventing our uses on aluminum air. And we take aluminum as fuel, we use air and water, and actually in a reaction we use electricity. In 2010, we start R&D on zinc air. Zinc is another metal, but allows us to regenerate and restart, meaning that it is not a primary battery, it's a secondary battery. And in 2012, we managed to develop and integrate from the catalyst to a cathode, to a battery, and integrate it to a car by combining and making a hybrid solution with lithium and aluminum air as a range extender. And until that time, actually, we worked in stealth mode. We were not in any website, any publicity, and so forth. Mainly due to the fact that 20 years ago, this technology had failed. It actually overpromised and underdelivered because of many difficulties. I can repeat and tell you what I think the delta is. It was me? No.
So we started the company knowing that there are difficulties that we might not be able to solve. So actually what we decided to do is to wait to 5 elements before we go to the public and announce that we think we solved the problem. One was to have the patent granted, and this happened. The second one is to accumulate data to see the all negative from the past. We managed to cure them. And number 3 was to build a vertical, like a car here, to demonstrate from A to Z a solution and not to come with a catalyst or a partial solution. Number 4 was to be able to find a supplier for a fuel. Our fuel is aluminum. So if it is true and some percentage of the future will use aluminum as electricity, we need somebody strong enough to be able to do it. So in the beginning of this year, we had all of these 5 elements concluded. We have Alcoa as our partner, and we have a leading OEM as a customer. And actually, these 5 elements was concluded, and we were lucky enough to be out from the shades to the light, very close to where the President Barack Obama visited Israel, and with the governance of the Ministry of Energy and Water, we were supported by this ministry. We were selected to demonstrate this technology to the President with our Prime Minister, and this was the beginning of I think March or April in 2013. And Alcoa is our strategic partners in aluminum, and we have a leading OEM worldwide to support us as a customer. Now, what is the difficulty of electricity or a global renewable sustainable energy? Actually, there is enough energy, and we heard that. Over the world, there's enough energy on Earth, and the difficulty is it's not well distributed. You have a nice hydro system, and you have 20,000 people around it. And we have 1 million people around here, and we have no facility to give them electricity. So transport of electricity is one of the issue, or energy. We know we can have a tanker to move oil from place to place, and actually this is the main things that we shift from place to place. So what about, let's imagine that we can bring something which is like metal, like aluminum, that will be able to store energy with a very good energy density and to be available whenever we need it. So let's assume we can have electricity that was created in Norway being burned down here, but this electricity is something which is renewable, sustainable. It happened 10 days ago or last year and so forth, and not 20 million years in fossil fuel slowly in the ground, like fuel. So let's talk about aluminum. Aluminum, it's the most available metal on Earth's crust. It is 8%, and we find it as alumina. And by charging it, actually electrolysis, we are creating alumina to be aluminum. In the process, by the way, we release oxygen to the air. And if we look at this, not as building it to a construction material, as to store energy, then we can ship aluminum from place to place. And aluminum is a very easy thing to ship because it's relatively very condensed. In 1 kilogram of aluminum, we have 8 kilowatt hour, and it is only 300 cc. So in 1 liter of aluminum, we have 24 kilowatt hour, which is the same energy that normal electric vehicle has for 150 or something kilometers. So we need to know how to discharge aluminum on time when we really need it. In order to do that, we have to have water, aluminum, and air, and do it using our proprietary air diffused cathode, a very thin layer, and I'll explain to you how it works. The interesting part is that the aluminum hydroxide, which is the rust of aluminum, let's say, can be recycled. Actually, we can reuse it. It's not thrown away. It's either be recycled back to the aluminum industry or diverted to a secondary markets that can use this material for other reasons. So a normal battery, and we spoke about many technologies here in chemistries, all the energy is within the package. And when 60, 70, 80% of the the volume and weight usually lies in the cathode. And we can see it on the left side. And it holds some kind of oxygen to do the reactant, to release the energy from the anode. So we say, let's throw it away, 80% of the weight, and let's slide in this very thin cathode. And this is actually what we have here. So this thin layer actually doing the task of the cathode just in time, breathing air from this side, and the catalyst on the other side touching the water inside the battery, and actually release the energy from aluminum. So 1 kilogram of aluminum and 1 liter of water and free air just in time can create enough energy for a car to drive something like 35 kilometers. What can we do with that? If we talk about volume, 1 barrel of gasoline can allow a car to drive about 3.5 thousand kilometers, and 1 barrel of aluminum, in terms of carrying it around the world, can allow you to do about 15,000 kilometers. So everything falls towards a good idea. What we would like to demonstrate, and we have a car to demonstrate that this is the same car that Elliot drove, is to do the following. Instead of having a large battery of lithium-ion that, as mentioned before, a car it's not a smart device, because 90% of the time we don't drive it and it's occupied parking. But interesting thing to see that 90% of the time we drive our daily average. Only 10% of the time we drive above that. So actually, electric car has an inherent problem only because we use it as the way we do. 90% of the time we drive from home to work, etc., and we do our daily average. And about 10% of the time we drive more. We go to the ocean, we go to ski, we go somewhere. And sometimes in this trip, we do maybe 10 times more than daily average. So how much battery to put in? In normal combustion engine, we have a tank, we can refuel gas, so we can continuously drive. In electric car, we have to put in the amount of energy that we think will be right. But right for what? For your daily average, or right for maybe a trip? So it makes sense to do shrinking the lithium ion, not to from 150 kilometers to maybe 50, and by that giving you 90% of the time the right solution. In a way, we took away 2/3 of the weight, 2/3 of the price, etc., etc., and then replacing some of the volume, some of the weight, with aluminum air. Aluminum air is so potent, so if we look at the 300 kilogram going down to 100, bringing back 100 kilogram in aluminum, this will give us a few thousand of kilometers. This is an anode before it was consumed. I have an anode, and it will be here later if people want to touch it, which is being consumed, let's say 70–80% all the way. So the missing material here went to the water, to the electrolyte, that actually consume and create electricity. So what do we get? We get a car like a normal EV that can do 150 kilometers, meaning is that 90% of the time are not using the 2/3 of the lithium. So we carry this weight back and forth, but we are not using it most of the time. But when we really need it, we need more. We maybe need 400, 500 kilometers. So what about, instead of having this, we will have about a 50 kilometers lithium worth of energy, and maybe 400, 500 worth of electricity that can be released by water that you can pump in. So why don't we put so much water that can release all the energy from the aluminum? It's the same way we don't have a car with 200 liters of gasoline. We have to adjust. It's a buffer management issue. How much water we want to carry, because it's also weight, it's also volume. So this is something to negotiate. But the capabilities to redo it again and again in a way to do a fast charge by reloading this electrolyte is something that we can bring into without a big infrastructure, to bring the facility to do a fast charge, to do a daily use, and actually to maybe solve this problem. So we give a range anxiety away, We have no specific infrastructure because water is easy, and we have zero emission. It's a full EV car. And this is the car that you can see outside, and I ran out of time, right?
Actually, you can have another minute or two if you want to do.
Okay. I have many to say, but I think the best.
You mentioned a large car manufacturer, but I mean, it's not a secret.
It's not a secret. If you ask me, I have to tell you. I cannot say what it is, but if you ask me, I can say.
So is it Renault Nissan by any chance?
Yes.
So obviously, Renault is not put off by one experience of electric technology here. I think you're also saying that at the moment it adds, what, 1,000 kilometers of aluminum?
Yeah, it depends on the speed that you want to do it. It's between 1,000 or 1,000 miles. It's very much, as you well know, an electric car is very much depends on the speed you're driving and how much regen you create. I would like to answer a question that was not asked and to say why we are connected to lithium or a rechargeable device. Aluminum air is a very good source of energy. It gives you energy by volume and weight 3-4 times better than lithium today in a system level. But it's not as powerful as lithium, and it is not rechargeable. So actually, the hybrid solution, having the lithium as a rechargeable daily, meaning is that 90% of the time you will be driving on this device. And having the power, the discharge rate of lithium is nice. So even 5 kilowatt hour with the right C rate of discharge can give you then enough power to drive the car. Whereas aluminum can be as a range extender in a steady state to charge your lithium. So the engine sees the lithium, and the lithium being supported by aluminum only when needed gives the right solution. Hybrid in the electrical level and not hybrid in 2 types of engines. When you do 2 types of engines, you actually double the car. This solution allows you to be cheaper from the initial price that you're supposed to pay for lithium. When you shrink the lithium, there is enough money to build aluminum back, having a cheaper car, and actually consume and use it 100% of the time, as not as we said before.